I was wondering if after all these years you'd like to start streaming. To go over
everything.
They say the time's supposed to
Right, our
heal
little
ya,
preview.
but I ain't done
1, 2.
much. To go 1, 2.
Oh, yeah, just going through.
Everything. They say the time's supposed to heal ya.
Right. Hey, guess what, Al?
Yep.
I think there's a possibility it's live. It is live.
Let's
It's
go.
not put the thumbnail on.
Oh, what? I made that thumbnail
Guess
for no
what, Al?
reason? Yep.
It sometimes is just a bit pooey about it, and it might take a second. That's a shame. But it's live. We're live. And we're recording right now our first live podcast, and I'm still
Indeed.
sitting down.
Yeah, still
Oh.
take some chair, mate. Take some
Take a
chair.
chair.
Take
Where
a
should I
chair.
take it? Oh, well, welcome back, everybody, to the Resonance Deep Dive, and this is our first live one.
Welcome.
How exciting is that?
Very exciting, mate. I've never done a live stream before.
Yeah, well, I don't think many people will watch this live since we still only have, like, just under 800 subscribers.
Exactly.
However, I thought, never done a live one before, and let's be honest, we need to get that watch time up to get the channel monetized. So,
So
what better way
Guys,
to do
we
it
need that
than
money.
do a live stream? So, welcome back to Resonance Deep Dive. This is episode 8, 9?
9, yeah, it'd be 9. Well, when is this? Well, yeah, it's going out now.
I
Yes,
might
it
have
has to
called
be
it
9,
episode 8 on the title of this, but I'll change it afterwards. So it'll say 9 on the actual
Yep.
VOD.
because the one is is it daily?
Daily Tactics will probably be episode 8. Or
Going.
7. I think it's 8.
It's 8. Give that a watch if you
Give that a
haven't.
watch. It's just come up. You've not seen it yet, obviously.
I haven't seen it. I was too busy editing the one which is going to be number 10.
Yeah,
Yeah.
number 10. Yeah, are we just going to list how you count?
We might as well.
We're basically don't have much planned for this podcast.
We don't. We're just kind of taking it how it goes. I think we just go out like Joe Rogan does. He just keeps on going. He's on like 3,000.
Yeah, so if we're going to do in the Joe Rogan style, I'll interview you, okay? I'll be like,
No, right. No, if you're going to be Joe Rogan, right, you've got to start everything you say with,
but why did you do that?
and then I'll be like, well, a buddy of mine, a buddy of mine, he did this.
But what was the meaning behind that? Why did you decide that you wanted to take shrooms that night? I think that's everyone that goes on Joe Rogan's podcast.
Literally, and then they just go, well, when I was deep in on my gap year in Cambodia, I met a tribe, and a buddy of mine showed me to this ayahuasca den.
There's a lot. Yeah, that comes up a lot.
Ayahuasca, because he loves ayahuasca. He loves it.
What is it?
It's like it's this old kind of drug that they. So I've seen like footage of it, and it just looks like a bunch of like bay leaves, but essentially they boil it down in this water, and then they either drink it or they just kind of hotbox like a little. It's weird.
They put a fish ball like Buzz Lightyear.
Kind of like that.
And they hotbox.
They just
Buzz
hotbox
Lightyear.
like this little like I don't know, tent thing that they put up, and it sends you on a mad trip, and then everyone obviously goes, oh my god, I saw the afterlife.
Yeah, it's always people come back and say that they spoke about how their mind expanded, but there's a quote that I really enjoy. I found this quote. It was a debate between a scientist and a flat earther. And the quote was, because the flat earther was telling the scientist, look, you got to question everything. You got to be more open-minded. And the scientist guy was like, yeah, but you don't want to be so open-minded that your brain falls out.
I think that sums up perfectly, to be honest with you.
I think there's a lot of that at the moment where everyone wants to be so open-minded and question everything. And I think everything should, in general, be questioned. But when you question it, you should, think through it methodically and logically. So questioning NASA saying, okay, the Earth is round. Okay, question it. Is that right? Okay, let's look into it. And the more you look into it, the more like, okay, so yeah, I agree with the hypothesis. We've seen a lot of evidence. We've seen a lot of experimentation, why it has to be for it to sustain life the way it does. But a lot of people will question it and then just come up with a completely different answer.
Yeah,
they'll do 1 + 1 and they'll get 347.
I think like what people tend to do is they'll look at that, they will actually the stupid ones will ignore
Stupid ones.
I'm sorry, if you're not gonna look at the mainstream argument, you're not going to look into it properly. You're not going to look into something properly and just decide, you know what, I'm just going to disagree with it without looking at what I'm disagreeing with. Then you're stupid.
Do you think there's a lot of people that disagree for the sake of disagreeing?
100%, especially in this day and age, because people just decide one day, they're like, you know what, fuck mainstream. I don't agree with this. I'm going to decide I'm just going to go the other way just to be cool, just
because it's not what more people do and they want to be different.
Basically, yeah. I mean, I think I find that that's the case with especially at university and with people our age. Loads of people support Labour for those reasons, because they won't have actually looked into, okay, why am I supporting Labour? What are their policies? They'll have heard Jeremy Corbyn say one thing that they like, which is usually that they're gonna abolish tuition fees, which is what he always used to say. They'd hear that and be like, right, I'm following him.
I think there's also a lot of the fact that, especially nowadays in the UK, if you come out and say that you support the Conservatives, you will get shouted down quite a lot. And I don't think I support the Conservatives. I can't lie. I've been pretty out of politics for a while.
So have I.
But I think I'm more left than right. But I think there's a lot of people that do want to support Conservatives that will never say it, because they'll just get shouted down by a lot of people on the left.
So much. It's such kind of like a polarizing subject, especially with people our age. Like, you look on because obviously, I am single. So I've been on dating apps, and everywhere on dating apps, when I see like girls saying
with minimal success.
Yeah, I've been single for like 4 years now, almost 4 years. 4 years. Oh damn, it is. Oh Jesus.
That's kind of depressing.
That's sad, man. I mean, no, but we're not getting into that. We're not getting into that. No, but like I'll see people say, "Oh, if you're a Conservative, if you're a Tory, fuck off." I'm like, why? You could get on perfectly with that person. Not everything has to be to do with politics.
I think there's also something to do with the fact that a lot of people really want to be the one that finds this new discovery. Yeah. Whether we're going back to things like conspiracy theories, they want to be the one that finds it. They want to be the one that knows.
Oh yeah.
I mean, we talked about watching the Logan Paul documentary about the Flat Earth Convention. The Flat Earth Convention, where is it? In Colorado, is it?
I think so, yeah.
It's in America. That's all you need to know.
Either in Colorado or Utah, one of those.
It's one of the weird ones.
Yeah, one of the weird ones.
But basically, the Flat Earth Convention is just a load of people that all have this idea, but the main thing that you get from it is they call it their truth seekers. Not flat earth believers, but they call themselves truth seekers because they think that they know something that the rest of the world doesn't, right? And I think there's a lot of that with it being, I want to know this. I want to be in a club that no one else knows. I want to feel like I know more than everyone else. So you purposely go against logic to get to that conclusion.
I mean, and I think that is wanting to, on your point of like wanting to be the person who like discovers something. That's like that's evident in everything. Like if you look at music, for example, people's music, they will, like, you can have someone who's relatively new, relatively unknown. They'll love them to that point. And then as soon as they become mainstream, they're like, oh, no, get him away. I hate him. Happened with Ed Sheeran, happened with 1975. So many people who I heard, like, praising these people when they first found out about them now hate them because they're too successful.
I think in music, though, there is a little bit of a difference to it because with music, you have obviously being able to oversaturate things. With just complete logic and facts that we were talking about before, they stay the way they are until a new discovery is made. But with music,
it's a bit more fluid.
Yeah. So, for example, let's take Ed Sheeran. He was quite popular in like the indie, even some of the hip hop scenes back in the day with his kind of music, with when he was doing EPs and stuff like that. But then as soon as he started to get big with like A-Team and stuff like that, I think even still,
they still liked him at that
A-Team,
point.
I think he was still considered cool.
Yeah.
In the A-Team days,
Yeah.
A-Team was quite a cool song.
As soon as he released Multiplied, that's when people stopped liking him.
I think maybe like with Sing, that kind of era.
Yeah. Multiply is what kind of killed him.
Yeah. Well, that blew him.
With his old audience.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that blew him up. So the people that liked him when they were smaller heard him all the time now, everywhere on the radio. And I do know that like the more you hear that, you might get tired of it. So whilst you say they're trying to be like cool, saying I knew him before he was big, there is a bit of now I'm done. It's too
Oh
much.
no, and people that say it for that reason, I understand. Like, because obviously, yeah, like I love Ed Sheeran. I'm a big fan of him. Going to see him in May. But yeah, like songs like "Shape of You," I got so sick of because you heard it everywhere you went when it first came out. You still hear it now. But I do think it's, you can't say that you just like it's people that give that reason, that's fine. But people who just decide that. As soon as you mention them, they like say, "Oh yeah, I knew him before he was cool. I knew him before he was famous."
Did you know Ed Sheeran before he was cool?
No, I knew. I think Tom told me about him in like year 7 when he released 18 and stuff like that. Yeah.
18 was such a big one in year 7.
Such a banger.
Everyone playing. If you got an acoustic guitar, you'd be playing 18,
Everyone,
or you'd be playing "Hey There, Delilah."
Yeah, that was like the year 7 version of like Wonderwall now. Like, the classic thing at a party, like, "Oh, can you play Wonderwall?"
I think Wonderwall's older than.
Well, no, I know, but like with like year 7s.
Isn't it mad how Wonderwall, at least for our generation, feels like it only got big more recently, even though it's an older song. Obviously, I think it's always been big, but I mean that I think you grow into that kind of song.
You do. Well, I think
so when we got to like 14, 15, then everyone was like, play Wonderwall, right? Even though it had been out before stuff like 18, but you sort of, it's almost when you grow up, you go away from the 18s and into like Wonderwall, and then later on you'll be like, play Stairway to Heaven.
Exactly. I think you grow. Yeah, like obviously, I think that just goes with like growing in and out of different types of music.
Yeah.
I think like obviously, Oasis is a bit more like taps into the teenage angst. I'd say, and
you sort of have to be crying when you're listening to it.
Realistically, yeah.
But which is good because we're always crying.
Yeah, we are always crying.
So there's never a bad time to listen to Oasis.
Well, I mean, thing is, people who see this might not like this.
It's all right. No one's watching.
Yeah, no one's watching right now. But if you watch, in the post, I don't like Oasis. I
think there's a lot of people that don't like Oasis. I mean, it's not the best drink, but I think it probably beats Fanta. But I would actually probably rather have a Ribena over an Oasis.
Wrong. I hate you. No. Oh no. I hate both the drink and the band. However, when I'm drunk,
would you have an Oasis and vodka? Would that be a good combination?
Never tried it.
I think Oasis isn't a strong enough drink for like a vodka. You need, because you have orange vodka's pretty good. Obviously, vodka Coke's pretty nice, but they're quite strong, powerful flavors on their own. I think Oasis, because it's more of a squash, is a bit more watered down.
Yes.
So you might need to add a bit more concentrate or something. I'm not quite sure how we got onto the Oasis drink, but we're going with it now. We're rolling with it. I think I really do like Fanta with vodka. It's quite nice, but Fanta also doesn't quite have the right concentration.
Yeah, I think.
What's your preferred drink with vodka? Your mixer of choice?
If it's vodka, because I don't really have vodka anymore on nights out. But if it's vodka, it's gonna be Coke. But I'm not gonna lie, my drink on a night out now is Jameson and Coke. Jameson whiskey. I've just only been put onto it this year, and by my mate back in Swansea, and it's banging.
I'm really enjoying vodka oranges at the moment.
It actually, you know what? I'll agree with you there. I'm a pick.
It's a good drink. Speaking of mixers, if anyone doesn't know, Mixer was a live streaming service that kind of shut down.
Oh, yes.
They were owned by Microsoft.
Didn't know they shut down.
But they bought out big streams like Ninja, and that kind of brings us onto what we're talking about. Microsoft seems to be going absolutely mental at the moment. Who own Mixer? By the way, I think that was probably the best transition I've ever done. And now I've ruined it because I've mentioned it.
I know. I was just reveling in this here. I was like, he has done an absolutely smashing job.
And now
here.
I've ruined it.
And now you've
by
ruined it.
talking
We've got
about
4
it.
listeners, and they're all disappointed
I know,
with you.
4 concurrent viewers. Yes,
hello.
this is live. We're just pretending that no one's there and no one exists. So Microsoft bought Mixer a while ago, and this was just another part of them buying into a lot of things. They seem to be throwing money absolutely everywhere. Twitch was always the biggest streaming site. Then Mixer came along. They bought Ninja, perhaps not necessarily the biggest term of numbers at the time, but the biggest face on Twitch. They bought him for about 30 million. They were planning on giving him more, but because Mixer shut down, Ninja only got 30 million of his supposed like 80 or 100 million, right?
Oh, only
But
30.
he got
only
30 million for streaming on another platform for a few months, and then he could go back to
He's back
Twitch.
on Twitch. Mad.
But this goes into Microsoft, who is buying up absolutely everything and throwing a ton of money. First off, of course, they have their Game Pass, so they're trying to get as many games onto it as possible. If anyone doesn't know, it's a subscription service. It's like 10 quid a month. You get a ton of new games and stuff. It's actually a good... it's a good price. Not that they're sponsoring us, but if Microsoft do want to...
If you want to sponsor us.
If you want to throw a sponsorship our way, I wouldn't be against it.
No, I wouldn't be against a free Xbox either. No, I'm joking. I know they
I
won't.
thought you wanted a PS5. Let's not...
Let's not rule it out. Let's not rule... Yo, Sony, if you want
if
so
you're there...
if you want to get involved, no.
Who's worse to children in poor countries? Because we'll stay away from that one. I think they're both probably just bad, but I've heard worse about Sony.
Yeah, listen, I like Bill Gates. He has a nice face.
Bill Gates, you've got a nice face. You're not a disgrace, so please sponsor us. Anyway, so they've been buying a lot. They've been buying a lot of games. First of all, they bought Bethesda a few months back, who make Fallout. They make Doom. Massive games. I think Elder Scrolls 6 is like one of the most hyped games. There's a chance that might be exclusive on Xbox now because Microsoft have bought Bethesda. So everyone went mad when they bought Bethesda, and it was a mental purchase because, I mean, the Fallout games is one of the biggest series. Doom is also massive. I think they make Rage as well. And, of course, Skyrim and Elder Scrolls and stuff. Bethesda's massive. Everyone went crazy. They're like, oh, no, Microsoft's buying up everything. Until yesterday, when it went to the next level. Microsoft
just wait for it.
Is in talks to buy Activision Blizzard, which is one of the most insane things I think has happened to the gaming industry. Activision Blizzard own Overwatch, they own Call of Duty, they own, which of course is Warzone and stuff like that. They own World of Warcraft, they own StarCraft.
Yeah, but most of all, they own Candy Crush.
They own Candy Crush. King, who make Candy Crush, right? If anyone doesn't know, I'm sure you do know, Candy Crush is basically a candy version of Bejeweled. You basically have to get the right candies in the right place. Do you know how much? I want to play a little game here. King, who make Candy Crush, by the way, which is just Bejeweled, a mobile app that makes Bejeweled.
Yeah.
How much do you think that Activision Blizzard a few years ago bought King, that only make Candy Crush and I think a couple other apps? Bear in mind, okay, Disney bought Star Wars for $4 billion. They bought Marvel for like $3 billion or something like that.
So you're telling me it's bills?
Well, that's how much they bought Star Wars, but
okay.
Would you say Candy Crush is worth more than Star Wars?
No.
How much do you think?
I'd say it's a huge game. It's been on like the top 5 of the App Store for years. So I'd probably go.
It was $5 billion.
What? I was gonna go $1 billion.
Actually, I think it was like $8 billion. It was like 5 to 8
more
billion.
than Star Wars.
Yes. And this is where, and that was a massive purchase at the time, and that was Activision Blizzard. Activision owns Call of Duty. They own Warzone. They own Blizzard. Obviously owns Overwatch. They own World of Warcraft stuff. And they combined a few years ago. They bought King. And there's been a lot of drama with Activision Blizzard. The CEO, Bobby Kotick, has had a lot of allegations against him of him being a bit of a prick. I mean, what do you expect? He's a CEO of Activision, which is one of the worst gaming companies out there, in terms of shoving stuff down the consumer's throat with microtransactions. And then Microsoft bought Activision Blizzard. Well, not officially, okay? It's in talks, and it's potentially confirmed. Yeah. But it's likely. How much do you think they bought Activision Blizzard for?
Right. Okay. I'm going to go for. Is it in double figures of billions?
I'm gonna give you. Candy Crush was about 5 to 8 billion. Star was about 4 billion.
I'm gonna say this is 15 billion.
I think the talks are something like 65 billion. Which will make it one of the biggest acquisitions in the gaming industry, full stop.
Biggest acquisitions in history in general, mate.
What it means is what's left for Sony. Think about this.
Actually, yeah, no, because this is what I did hear about. I heard that Sony in terms of like exclusives that they have to them,
I saw a good
they're
meme.
drastically running out.
I saw a good meme today after the whole Activision, because obviously Call of Duty is a big console game, so Sony make a lot from Call of Duty.
Yeah.
But now Microsoft own Call of Duty. They also own Overwatch, which is also a massive game. World of Warcraft's mostly PC anyway, so I think Call of Duty is going to be the big hit to Sony if that goes exclusive on Xbox. But even if it doesn't, even if Call of Duty never goes exclusive on Xbox, now Microsoft has said, even with Bethesda, that Elder Scrolls 6 will probably not be Xbox exclusive, so they still might go into PlayStation.
Surely if they're owned,
they still get all the money.
Yeah.
So it's a win-win for Microsoft. But
surely Sony can't allow that. They'd be like, come on now.
But what are they going to do? Say now, we don't want Call of Duty.
They've got to make some kind of deal, no? Because that's a lot of money they're missing out on. Call of Duty is one of the biggest games in the world.
They're not going to go, we don't want Call of Duty, we don't want Battlefield, we don't want any of these things. We don't, like, they have no... I saw a really good meme in the third Spider-Man, or the second Spider-Man, I think it was. Have you seen Spider-Man 2?
Which Spider-Man?
The original trilogy.
Oh, Toby. I haven't seen it in ages.
Right, so there's...
so the one with Doc Ock.
Harry Osborn finds out that Spider-Man kills his dad.
Oh, yeah.
And then he's, like, on a revenge mission. And there's a good meme of Harry Osborn, like, looking really angry and going, all I have left is Spider-Man. And it was, like, Sony after Microsoft buy Activision Blizzard. It's like, that is the only exclusive. And God of War, maybe. But God of War's now on PC, so they don't even have that.
Oh, shit.
Sony actually are pretty much dead in the water at this point.
Yeah, no, right. I'm doubling down now. I'm doubling down. Bill, I'm going with Xbox.
So you were very much saying you wanted a PS5, right?
Well,
have you always been a PlayStation guy?
It was obviously because I didn't have in school, whilst everyone had consoles, my family weren't really like, they were just like, look, you need to focus on your studies and stuff. And but then when I was 16, I finally got a PS4 because that's what everyone had, and I think everyone agrees that PS4 was better than Xbox One.
I think the original Xbox One, they messed that up big time.
They messed it up. So I was like, so obviously, so PlayStation is, and to be fair, I had a PlayStation 2 as like a very young kid.
PS2 was a brilliant console.
Was an elite console. Put Star Wars Battlefront 2 on that.
Oh yes, Star Wars Battlefront 2.
Come on. So I've always been like kind of PlayStation. But by the sounds of things, it sounds like the tide is turning, and also the fact that you can't get your hands on a PS5 easily. Still.
I think Microsoft have... So, if we talk about the history of the consoles, you have the first console... Well, of course, you have like things like the GameCube back in the day from Nintendo. But the first, I guess PS1 was around that time, but the first big console that really broke out... First it was PS2. That was the one that went mainstream. And, blew up the console market massively. Then the Xbox 360 came out, which... was also
didn't you have the first Xbox?
The first Xbox as well, but in terms of actually making
blowing
a console that had record numbers, the PS2 was first, and then Xbox 360 did a similar thing. And then the PS3, I think a lot of people didn't really like it. I never had one though.
Flopped. Oh, I thing is, at the time I didn't really know enough about gaming, because I didn't have a console. Whenever I played on one, I was like, oh my god, this is amazing. Yeah. So at the time I didn't really know. Probably if I compared it now. Yeah, probably you'd be like, very good.
But when the PS4 and the Xbox One race came out, Microsoft had this whole thing saying, obviously they called it the Xbox One, that it wanted to be an all-in-one console. And they tried to pitch it towards being all-in-one for a media platform. So not only could play games, but you could also be a smart TV and stuff. But people that care about media platforms who are older people don't care about games, and people that care about games don't necessarily, they want a gaming platform here, because everyone was getting smart TVs by 2013 anyway. So it kind of just completely messed up. But then you have the next stage. Microsoft were like, okay, we messed this up. What are we going to do next? So they made the Xbox One S and the Xbox One X. I have an Xbox One X downstairs. I actually bought it last year just because I wanted to play 4K Blu-rays, and it was so cheap at that point. And then Sony had the PS4 Pro to go up against that, which, as far as I know, did not do very well, because no one really knows it existed.
I think I was told about it a few years ago, and I was like, they released another one.
They had
and
a
then
PS4 Pro.
They released something extra on top of that as well. I remember they released the PS4 Pro, and they released another like extension to it, which was basically just
made it fatter. Yeah.
Yeah, made it fatter. I think it was like so you could put
The
two discs
PS4
in.
Pro was like 100 or a couple £100 more expensive, and it didn't actually give much more power at all. The Xbox One X is a fantastic console. I think Microsoft did like a really good job with the Xbox One X because it was so much more powerful than any other console. And then you have this generation, so PS5 versus Xbox Series S and X.
Yeah, that's the one.
And I think they've both done pretty well. I'd say maybe the PS5's just tips Xbox.
I think, to be honest, I think it's just that is just down to like exclusivity though. Like I think
and then that's what why Microsoft have changed and just they've been like, right, let's just drown them.
Just fuck the game.
They have the money.
Yeah.
So they're like, let's put we need to win the next generation of console wars. Let's buy up everything, and they have. They've left nothing left for Sony. And do you know what the thing is Sony's problem? But Sony is a massive company. They obviously do more than just consoles, but the console is a big part of their market. And whilst Xbox is a big part of Microsoft's market, PC and Windows is bigger.
It's huge. Yeah, it's huge.
And they have the advantage now that because gaming is so big on PC and on Xbox, they now just link together. So the Game Pass not only gives you unlimited games on Xbox, but also on PC with one account. And you have stuff like Age of Empires, which is massive on PC. They're now putting that in the PC Game Pass. And you've got games like Forza, which you play cross-play between PC and Xbox. And like Halo. Halo's now on PC, which it never was before.
Yeah.
Halo Infinite, you can play cross-play between PC and Xbox. Sony's left out with all this.
This is what has been actually like really annoying for me because a lot of my friends all have PCs.
Yeah.
And obviously I haven't.
You do now.
I do now. Let's go. But yeah, no, obviously me with my PS4, so we were like looking for things that we can cross-play together during like lockdown.
You can't really cross-play.
Other than Warzone, there was nothing. Like literally there's no games. And then I'd find a game and I'd be like, oh, this is cross-play. And they'd be like, no, cross-play with Xbox.
Yeah.
And I'm like, get in the bin. Come on. Like I think one of them was what's the pirate one?
Sea of Thieves.
That's the one I really want to play.
It's a fun game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that was really annoying for me. So yeah, might have to go.
But this, like, whilst I think it's a good thing, it's a tricky one, right? So Sony's main selling point has always been its exclusives until now. Okay, so they've had the Spider-Mans, they've had the God of Wars, they've had things like Detroit Becoming Human and stuff.
That was like big for a few months.
Yeah, but they've had a lot of big exclusives as well, like Sony, and that's been one of their main selling points. And I've never really liked that because exclusive means bad for consumer. I've never understood the argument that a lot of Sony fanboys defends PlayStation because it has exclusives. You're like, well, that's not a good thing. Like it just means it's for less people. But now it's starting to go the other way. Like Microsoft is now buying up everything, which whilst it has PC and Xbox, so it is a bigger audience, and like it doesn't affect me because I just play on PC really. But it is still not very consumer friendly at all. On one side,
I've never understood why we've had exclusives. Obviously,
exclusives shouldn't be like a good thing. It shouldn't be a selling point for console because it just means it's forcing you to buy it to play those games. And whilst that's good on Sony's part, like it's a clever business decision, I don't understand why consumers defend that, right? But now it's sort of gone the other way, where Microsoft PC has always been a bit more open. And with Game Pass, it is quite consumer friendly. Like £10 a month for hundreds of AAA games is mental, right? This includes things like Star Wars Battlefront, all the Battlefield games, like when they come out, like Age of Empires, like Forza games, like all that stuff, all for like £10 a month, which is very consumer friendly. But when they start buying stuff up like this, it makes you wonder what they're planning and how exclusive they're going to go.
Yeah, I mean, I think you've got to assume though that, as I said earlier, like Sony must have a plan. Like they've obviously this is a huge move from Microsoft, and it does kind of throw everything in the air. But Sony must have thought about this. They're a huge multi-billion-dollar company. They must have thought about this. They must have been like, okay, if this happens, we'll do this. have a contingency plan, no?
You'd like to think so, but it brings me on to my next question: how close are we getting to a monopoly here?
Oh. I mean, thing is, it happens. Like, think if you look at Disney, they've basically got
Microsoft are doing a Disney in the gaming
Disney
world.
are they're like one purchase away from having a monopoly on the game, which is DC. That's all they need.
Well, Warner Bros.
Yeah,
Because that's what if they take Warner Bros. That's Harry Potter, DC, and James Bond.
Shit, yeah. But that's the thing.
I think.
And that,
maybe James Bond is like Paramount actually.
and that is something that I can see happening. Like that can very easily happen.
And
like,
once they
with
do that,
Disney's power.
that's a monopoly.
Yeah, and
Pretty much.
it is unfair. Like, it is.
Well, no, it's not necessarily that it's unfair because I don't really care about the other $1 million corporations that are whinging about it. It's the fact that it gets to a dangerous. Well, having a monopoly in general is illegal on the sense of it. Technically, governments can't allow a monopoly to happen, but it's so vague when you have media because, like, if Microsoft buy up everything, like, what point do the government say this is a monopoly? You can't do this anymore because they will just be like, oh, I'm not stopping anyone else from making games. But they are, because if no one else is going to bother making a game, because Microsoft are just going to swamp it with their games.
Well, exactly, and also I think I know you also have, in terms of drawing the parallel with Disney. Disney could just kind of, and I think that's kind of what they're doing at the moment. They can just be like, look, so if the government's got annoyed saying, okay, you're taking away all of these movies from like streaming services, they can just be like, look, we can lend a few out, and that's what they've done with Netflix. They've lent a few out. Like, literally a few movies, and then they themselves replace them with their own made stuff.
Yeah.
There's
a lot to be said about some comparisons in the past, specifically Apple. Apple have always been very bullish with their business stuff, and recently we've seen it with AirTags. A similar thing happened. AirTags came out a couple years ago. Basically, it's a little tag. You can put it on your bag, your wallet, your phone, whatever. You probably don't need it on your phone because it tracks itself. And it has a little GPS on it. So when you're looking at your phone, you can see an AirTag. You might have named it, I don't know, wallet. And you can see wherever it is and find it, right?
it's useful.
But there was a product called Tiles that have been out for years that are exactly the same thing, right? And they're almost identical products. Like, it's a tile, you can rename it, you can put it wherever you want, attach it to a keyring, whatever, and it'll, on the app on your phone, you can see where that product is, where your thing is, because it's being tracked.
Right.
And when Apple came out with AirTags, tiles were like, excuse me, this is our thing. But governments were like, right, it is. They were like to Apple, have you just copied their design? And Apple were like, no, it's we've not copied. They said, they were like, Tile are welcome to carry on doing their thing. And the government's like, yeah, well, we can't do anything because Apple aren't patented this to the point where you can't continue your production. So it's a similar thing to like Microsoft and Disney saying, you guys can carry on doing it, but they just can't, because whilst by law they're saying, yeah, carry on Tile making your product, but Tile just are going to get dwarfed by AirTags now. Because they've just made the same thing, but because it's Apple, they can put so much more resources. They've got the name, they've got the integration with iPhones. I mean, the Apple AirTags connected to other iPhones and AirTags around where that AirTag is to make a network. So it doesn't matter where it was, it would connect to someone else's iPhone nearby to then send a ping to your phone. So that,
oh my days,
which is that Tile had. Tile also had this network, but it meant that the accuracy of finding your item that had your little tag on it was down to how many other people had tiles around you.
Right, okay.
But because Apple then started swamping it with AirTags, people were not buying tiles as much, so then tiles were less worth it, so then less people bought tiles, so then it was just a vicious cycle. So it's like a same thing. Like, whilst Microsoft, they don't have a monopoly, it's more just like a wink saying, you guys can do whatever you want, we don't have a monopoly. And small game companies like, but we can't release anything because you'll either swamp us or then you'll just buy us.
Well, that is actually with the Tile and AirTags thing. Why didn't that it sounds like that seems like a very Apple thing.
Apple would
just
never
buy it.
No, it's not. Apple would never buy a company like that. They've never really done that. They just make their own version and swamp everyone out. Because if they buy Tile, then they have to share profit. They have to share everything with, or it just takes a lot more setting up. And also,
True.
Tile, Apple isn't necessarily about efficiency. Apple is about how it looks. They don't want another product and then just putting an Apple thing on it. They want their own pristine. This is
the slick,
made by Apple for Apple.
I guess, yeah, that's true.
And nothing else. I think in the Apple eyes, bringing in another company with their product and saying, you make your tiles work with our iPhones, is almost like, to them, like contamination to their brand. Because it then takes away some of that clean, pristine Apple look.
Yeah. Yeah,
and that's literally all Apple bases its brand off, is how it looks.
Just all the sleekness. It's looking all nice.
It's like their social media presence. Like Apple have a lot of weird advertising practices. Like their Twitter doesn't post anything until it's announcing like a new product launch.
Of course.
Like they don't have like social media teams. You don't see Apple just posting like stuff like other companies do on social medias.
Oh no!
It's the only thing you see about Apple is an advert.
Yep.
You don't see any person. You don't see anything behind Apple.
Well, it's the same with their support. Like it's other than going to like a Genius bar, which often I'm not gonna lie is useless.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if you go online for support, there's no actual like helpline. You usually like it's just like either email them, and you might get something back, or speak to a bot who will then take you to an FAQs page, and if your question is there, if your problem is there, you're lucky. Like that's the thing. Apple is yeah, I'm not a fan. Like iPhone, I have an iPhone, I have a Mac. The Mac is a donut.
I think that's just because it's old, not because it's like an
true.
Apple.
Yeah,
product.
true.
Like I've got one of the newer Macs with the new chips in, and it's really fast and really good. I think it's just because you've got an old computer rather than it being an Apple computer.
True. But in terms of like getting help for it, it's useless. Like if you went to like the Apple store, they'd just be like, "Oh mate, just get a new one. Just get a new one."
Yeah, I think that.
Do I have a grand aside? No, I don't think I do.
They'll be like, "You might not have a grand, but do you have a mum or a dad that could sort of buy that for you?
Or do you have a mortgage?
Do you want a mortgage? Do you want an Apple mortgage? Tell you what, remortgage your house and we'll fix this Mac for you."
Look. There's a bank down the road.
It's called the Apple Bank.
It's called the Apple Bank.
You can only use Apple cards. Remember Apple cards? What happened to them?
Apple cards were a thing.
Yeah, they had.
Wait, the gift cards.
No. iTunes gift cards or another thing. No, but this was actually an Apple credit card.
No, I didn't know.
It was like an Apple design thing.
Oh.
But iTunes, do you remember iTunes? What do you remember? Oh, on Christmas or your birthday, you get a £15 iTunes, and you just go on, and because you had like £15, you'd buy like whatever songs you want.
Yes.
Then you have like a few quid left over. You're like, I could actually buy a film and watch it on my iPod Touch.
No, that was like a big process though. That was that you had to deliberate. You had to really.
You would put your iPod Touch into the big chunky cable, put it into USB, and you have to sync all the files.
Oh
and
my God, you do!
You have to sync everything.
Yeah.
You could burn CDs from the disc onto your computer and then put it on an iPod.
That's what I did.
Those
for Christmas, for years, I just asked for CDs upon CDs
to burn onto your
just
iPod.
to burn onto my iPod.
What iPod did you have?
My iPhone. I had an iPod. Well, right. So the first iPod I got was an iPod Shuffle. You know, the ones without the screen.
I was so jealous.
Yeah.
Shuffle.
I mean, it was a bit annoying when
They look so cool.
It was a bit annoying when you missed the song that you were looking for ages and had to go back again to get it.
Yeah, not having a screen just seems like a
that was
pain
annoying. And then I finally got a Touch, and that was great. Like, I remember like you had Doodle Jump.
Jump, Jetpack
Joyride,
which came a little bit later.
You had the beer app where you just like.
Or you'd have like the
drink.
gun app where you go.
Oh, the gun! Oh my!
You could have different guns.
And then I remember I go up to my mum because I had the gun up, and I'm like, "Mum, can I have £3?" And she's like, "Why?" I'm like, "I want to unlock these new guns."
You bought microtransactions on the gun app. But
obviously she said no.
My history with Apple products is I was very, very jealous when I saw people with the iPod Nano, like the original kind
That
of
was
one,
the original one
that
trendy,
looked so
yeah.
like cool and sleek.
Yeah,
And I thought like you get like a shiny orange one and the
my-
little
yeah,
and
the little skinny ones.
the skinny one. I thought that was so cool.
Yes.
And then for my birthday, it must have been like 9th or 10th birthday, my parents got me the newest iPod Nano at the time, which was basically like the Shuffle with just a touch screen. It was like a square Nano, just a square, but like, the whole thing was a screen.
Mm.
And that was so cool. And it was like a Shuffle with a touch screen. And then when I got into year 7, I got an iPod Touch. The beautiful iPod Touch. I loved that iPod Touch so much.
Would you bring it into school?
Oh, would
Course.
I bring me,
Of
James,
course.
and Nathan? We'd sit every break, every lunch.
Yep.
We'd sit in the form room on our iPod Touches. We'd play. There was a dinosaur hunting game that was brilliant. I don't know if you ever played that. We used to just play that.
I might have done. I don't know.
You'd basically go out. You'd shoot dinos. You'd call your helicopter in. They'd pick the dinos up, and then you go back to your trophy room. You see, I've got a T-Rex here. Oh, there's a silhouette of a Stegosaurus there. I've got to find that. You go out,
Ooh.
find it, shoot it, and bring it back. And that's what we used to do every break and every lunch in year 7.
Yeah.
And year 8 and a bit of year 9.
Mate, it was the thing to do. Like I remember, everyone, because in year 7, everyone still had Blackberries. I had a HTC.
I had an Alcatel.
That was an Alcatel.
It was like I had like a little knockoff Blackberry.
Ah, yeah. Did you have to start BBM on it?
No, of course
No. Just get a little pirated
It was such
BBM.
a Blackberry is such a mad thing because it
crazy. Because if you look back on it now, it was a horrible phone. Apart from Brick Breaker, which was
brick. Yeah, because I never had a Blackberry and I was kind of jealous of everyone having Blackberries, and I just like watched people over their shoulder in form time playing Brick Breaker. And I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. But like Blackberry, that's what they're called. They were like early 2000s, like mid 2000s, massive as like business phones. But then I think when the iPhone came out in 2007, a lot of business people started to slowly move over to that. But Blackberries, I remember year 7, 8, and 9 was still big with like teenagers, and it must have been like their parents' old phones that they'd given them.
I'd say yes.
Because iPhones, we're on like the iPhone 4 by that point.
Yeah, I think it was year 7 and 8 that they were still a thing. Year 9 was the big shift.
5C. Everyone had an iPhone 5C.
Oh yeah. I remember all the girls came in with like the ones with the pink. Yeah,
the iPhone 5C was like I remember just at the time everybody had one. I never had one. I think I was on my Nokia Lumia 645 then. I loved that phone. It was an orange back. It was a beautiful phone. I mean, it was the window. It had the Windows operating system, so you couldn't get anything on it. But everyone had these iPhone 5Cs, and now looking back, that was a point in Apple where for the first time they made a budget phone, and it was a plastic back. It had a terrible post. They were terrible phones, but everybody had them.
They made a killing off it
because every high school kid had.
Yeah,
one.
because every high school kid,
cheap.
Every high school kid wanted because you want an iPhone because everyone else has one.
You can't afford one.
So you're like, so your parents, the parents saw the 5C, they were like, sweet ass. I got my first iPhone was it was my mum's old 4S. Yeah.
I think my favorite iPhone was the 4 and 4 or 4S.
It was the 4S was the first one with Siri.
I think that was like
the first one with
the
Siri.
nicest looking one at the time. The 5 was pretty.
Thing is, like, I think I found it the other day in like a drawer, and it was tiny. Like
yes,
it was.
Yes,
but at the time,
they were so small in your hand.
Yeah, but at the time, I was like, this is big. And I remember I used to play FIFA mobile on it. Madness. Whereas now, obviously, I've got this big, chunky like thing, and it's I couldn't imagine.
Which one's that?
The XR.
Right.
Yeah,
okay.
I couldn't imagine having anything smaller. Like I'm so used to it now. Like it's crazy.
So like last year, my housemate at the time had an SE, the first SE, not the new one, and he broke it. So I offered to fix it for him, and I was like, he gave it to me, and it was like it felt like the tiniest thing, and like the little keyboard, I was like having to go like this and stuff like that. And this is because I just spent a few years. I had an S9 Plus, I had an S10 Plus, and then I had an S20 Plus, and they're such like big phones.
You just get used.
But you just get so used
as
to
it gets
the
bigger,
size
you
of
just get used to
See,
it. See,
even my phone there feels pretty small in my hand, but I'm sort of getting used to it now. So it's the Galaxy Z Flip 3.
Folds.
Yes, it's not the Fold, it's the Flip. The Fold's a different phone. The Fold goes like that into like an iPad
right.
one. The Flip
Okay.
just goes like bob bob bob, you know. But it's mad to see like the old phones and how they were. And do you know what I really loved? Speaking of Microsoft, still, the Windows phones were so nice, but so useless.
That's the thing. They were like, they looked amazing. I remember seeing the adverts for the Nokia Lumia. I was like,
I had a Nokia Lumia 605. The orange plastic back was just the most beautiful thing
literally,
ever.
I was just like, I need this phone. But then I heard people like, I think one of my family got it, and they were like, it's generally useless. I cannot do anything on it. Like you can't. It's
It was
that was kind of the case with Androids for a while.
until Google bought Android. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Google bought Android in like 2014 or 15, and then from then, like, they obviously got better. But the problem with the Windows phone is Windows almost, like, when I say almost, if it was, I can't remember what Nokia Lumia it was or what Windows phone it was, but it was one generation, like, it needed one more success to be the biggest phone manufacturer. But it had the biggest flop with its next release. I can't remember. I don't know the exact details. And it was, I think something pulled out. It might have been to do with Google and Android, actually. They might have had a partnership with Windows, and then they decided to go with Android instead. But that was the issue. The Windows phones, they were so nice looking, okay? They ran really well. They were the most powerful phones. They had amazing cameras. The operating system was really nice to use. The tile system, I thought it looked amazing, and I really liked it. But there was just nothing on it. No developers made stuff for it. There just wasn't the support. You couldn't get Instagram on it. You couldn't get Snapchat on it. You couldn't... I think you could get Facebook on it. I think you could have Facebook.
I'm pretty sure they introduced Snapchat on it a bit later, because I do seem to remember.
Well, when I got rid of my Nokia Lumia, like 2016, there was still no Snapchat.
Really?
You could sort of get like hacked versions for like a few months, but then they'd always just kept getting taken down.
And also, I think people also used, because Snapchat at the time had like what you could get on the website.
Right. Okay.
So that's what people. That was so bootleg. I remember that. That was really bootleg. Because I think when I got my when I was naughty, I got my iPod, like
everyone was
iPhone.
jailbreaking iPods, weren't they?
Oh
iPod
yeah. I
Touches.
got like my iPhone taken away from me. So what I had was a what did I have? Oh yes, I had my tablet, which was a Google Nexus.
Oh, the
Do you
Google
remember those?
Nexuses, yeah.
Now they were at the time. I remember seeing, because that thing is obviously couldn't afford an iPad. And so I saw the Nexus, and I was like, "Oh my god, an affordable iPad!" And the thing is, I was like, "Can I get Angry Birds on it?" They were like, "Yes." I was like, "Say no more. You've made the sale." And then I realized, shit, I can't. For the first, I think 6 months, I couldn't get Snapchat, and so I had to use the website. I remember I was talking to a girl at the time. I was in like year 9, and I had to. Like, each message would take like 15 minutes to send. And so this girl is like, bro, like, I remember I sat with her in science, and she's like, why do you like, why does it take you so long? I feel like you're ignoring me sometimes. I'm like, no, it's just, I have to use the website. Oh my days.
Yeah, well, so yeah, Google had Nexus before, and then obviously when Nexus failed, they then started to do their own, like, Pixel phones and stuff, which was finally how they actually started to do well. But yeah, when Windows Phone died, I was so sad with that, because I thought Windows was going to be, like, it was going to do so well, and but there was just no support with, like, the development of it. And of course, if no people are making apps, it's just not going to do well. But so, do you know the history of, like, Android phones and how they got, like, their terrible reputation?
I mean, obviously, like, I've had Android phones, like, back when they had a really bad reputation. Like, I had a HTC. It was mate, literally, right. So I had a HTC. My sister had one of the early Samsung Galaxies, and for about 2 months they were great, and then they turned genuinely into a smart board. Like, you know when in school and on the smart board. They have to
Calibrate the smart board. Yeah.
That is genuine. What my sister had to do every day with this, and my HTC felt very similar. Like, it would always, like, when I pressed like the screen, sometimes it would just vibrate like mad. I'm like, this is crazy.
Android phones I think it was only really like 2014, 2015 when they started to actually get really good. And then obviously now they're doing well. But do you know sort of? So there's always that meme of like iPhone, that Android. You know, it's an Android user because the camera's rubbish, right? Yes. It's like Android users it'd be like a really blurry image. Do you know how that came about?
No.
So there's actually a lot of logic to this. It's like a funny meme, but it actually probably came about because of Snapchat. So Snapchat basically they developed mostly for iPhone initially. So when you're taking a picture on Snapchat, obviously it doesn't use the actual camera on your phone.
No, it doesn't.
So with iPhones it worked fine though, because they like developed it to work with iPhone cameras, and it worked absolutely fine there.
Yeah.
But with Android, because there was such a wide range of Androids, there were like rubbish ones to amazing ones. They couldn't really develop it to work with every Android phone. So that instead of like actually having it to take a picture with the phone, it would just screenshot the screen. So
wait, is that why it was so shit?
So that's why Snapchat on Android was really bad.
Yeah, no.
Because it used to take a screenshot of the screen instead of actually using the camera. I've got something in my eye.
That's why. Yeah, because when I finally got Snapchat working on my when Google Nexus finally allowed me to install it, it was terrible. I'd take a picture and I'd be like, and I go on like my actual.
But the actual camera was like alright.
Yeah, I go on the actual camera and I'm like, I look good, and then I go on Snapchat, take a picture.
Yeah, because they couldn't. They just physically, when Snapchat was in its early days, because the team wasn't big enough, they couldn't develop it for every Android phone because there were so many. So it would just be the equivalent of someone like holding a phone, taking a picture of the screen, seeing the camera. That was the equivalent of it. Instead of actually taking a picture with the hardware, it was just like software cutting the picture of the camera.
I didn't know
and that's why Android phones had this reputation, because obviously everyone used Snapchat back in those days.
Yeah.
So Snapchat defined how good the picture looked, and it was fine on Apple phones because it just used the Apple phone as an actual camera. But because it basically just baited Android users to make them look bad because it would ruin all the photos.
I mean, obviously they make good, like, Samsung make amazing phones now and stuff like that. But it is still kind of a meme, and it probably will just stay with them because it like, it doesn't matter how, like, how good the cameras are on like Huawei's or like
Huawei's.
What? How do you pronounce
Huawei.
it? Huawei.
Which are dead now. They're gone. So
is that because of the whole like China?
The whole China.
Yeah, the whole China.
Yeah.
No.
Huawei, the sad death of Huawei.
Yeah, because I remember, our mate Sam got a drinky.
I was about to get a Huawei.
He got one, and he was like, the camera's amazing, and but then he wasn't.
Huawei had brilliant phones. Like, they, I think, had just beaten Apple for like the second best phone top selling manufacturer, because it goes Samsung, then it used to be Huawei. I mean, it used to be Apple, then Huawei, but I think Huawei actually overtook, and then all the Google stuff happened, took all American stuff off, so Google, you can get any Google stuff, and then Huawei basically vanished now. Out of they're still a big thing in Asia, obviously, but out of the Western world, so they've kind of vanished. But I think Oppo are now the second biggest.
I've never heard of Oppo.
I think they're another South Korean company like Samsung.
Right, okay.
I think it's Oppo. But yeah, I think Apple is still third because.
Thing is, why don't? Because obviously I've never heard of that brand. Why do they never like? Because like these Asian brands, they're huge, and the thing is, they sell so much because Asia, like these Asian countries like China and stuff, they're vast.
So vast,
and so many people. So, but. It does kind of make why they never reach here. I mean, obviously,
Samsung did.
But I'm talking like other than the big two, you'd say
Samsung and Sony.
Yeah, what are you talking about?
I'm talking about big Asian companies that reach.
No, I'm talking about like no. In terms of phones, the big two is Samsung and
Oppo. Oppo are still big in like America and the UK, just mostly with people that like are enthusiastic about phones.
Right.
Like,
Okay.
they will. I think they'll become more mainstream because obviously they're growing bigger and bigger, and they're such a big company now, just not here yet. But if you know, like, if you look into phones a lot, you'll see how big they are. But the problem is just like it's just not mainstream yet. But I think it just takes time because Samsung have been around for so long, and like you say, Samsung phones have only really become good since like 2015, 2016.
And they had the minor blip of becoming grenades, but we don't talk about that.
Yeah, but I think that actually probably did more for.
So it boosted the
the brand name. I think it actually did more in the end.
I've got a question.
Okay.
Where do you? Because obviously, phones how they look now. Obviously, they're getting bigger, getting thinner. In most cases, where in like 10 years do you see them
folding phones?
Just is that where you see it? But then we're also thing is right when I see that. Obviously, it's it's cool, but I'm just like, are we not regressing back to the Motorola with that? Only just
what
touch
with
screen.
Folding glass?
No, yeah, obviously
that technology is mental.
No, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, it is mental. But when I see that, I do just see like a touchscreen Motorola.
Motorola also do a flip phone that's pretty cool, by the way.
Are they still going?
Yeah. Because I think Microsoft bought them. Going back to Microsoft.
Oh my days.
No. This is funny. This is really funny. So Google and Microsoft hate each other. I think it's Google and Microsoft, or it might be Google and Samsung. I think it's Google and Samsung. No, Google bought Motorola. Forget about Microsoft.
Right.
They were just on my mind. So Google and Samsung hate each other to the point where Samsung in like 2012, 2013 were like, we don't want to use Android anymore because Google then owned it.
Yeah.
So they were like, let's make our own operating system. They put it on one phone. It completely flopped.
Yeah.
And then Google bought up Motorola because I think Motorola owned Android at the time. So I think they bought Motorola just to get Android, and then they sold Motorola a few years later when they got sort of all their technology and stuff off them. I think Motorola's on its own now. But yeah, they're still going. But I think phones are going to go, whether like fold phones like that. But the thing is, this is the second generation of the flip phone, but the fold phone, the Samsung Fold, is on its third generation.
Right.
And I think that's the best phone out, the Fold, not that one.
Yeah.
Just because of how useful it is. It's so, like, you can just get, like, the productivity of an iPad and fold it up. And I think in the next 5 years, I think in, like, 5 years' time, Apple will do one. But they always wait a while. They basically make everyone else do the mistakes first.
Yeah, and also because they don't want to release it so quickly that it just looks like they're copying.
I know. I don't think they care about that at all. Because, I mean...
Do you not think?
No. I don't think they really care. I think they're waiting to see...
If it works. If it works. If people like it.
They let other companies test drive things. Which is why they're slowly moving up to USB-C. Because they've finally given in. And, like... Obviously, then the US government stepped in now and like, come on, Apple, stop with this whole Lightning port thing now. Just pack it in. So Apple will now have to move to USB-C by law. So
oh shit.
I don't know if it's their iPhones, but their Macs have, their iPads have.
Yeah.
So
yeah. I've still got the old school one with the magnetic.
Oh dear.
Yeah. It's a bit shit.
But like, yeah, I think most phones will go that way, potentially. I don't know, like, folding phones is still a bit up in the air at the moment, because I think a lot of people think it's cool, but it's not. I've had it for a few months now, and, like, it's cool, but I don't really care. I mean... Like, I don't care anymore that it folds.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. And that's what I kind of think. I'm like, if I got one, I'd be like, oh, okay, that's cool. And then after, like, a month, I'd be like, okay.
There aren't that many use cases for it, because... Yeah, unless they can just make it...
I mean, obviously, it's smaller. Like, it's smaller, easy to fit in pocket.
But my pocket's the same size. My pocket still fitted a normal phone.
It still fits the full phone. That's what I'm saying. Like, I think for the Fold, that makes sense, because it's as you said.
I think the Fold makes more sense than the Flip. I think the Flip's are more of a gimmick thing.
Yeah. Might as well just... Did they release it at a similar time with each other?
Yeah, they released them together.
Oh, well, yeah, that makes sense then.
It's just that the Fold at the moment is like $1.5 grand more expensive. So it's like $2.5 grand, which is not really a sensible price for a phone. At that point, if you're like $2.5 grand, you might as well at that point just buy a regular phone like a OnePlus Nord 2 for like 600 quid, which is like the fastest phone out in terms of specs, and then just buy a tablet for like a couple hundred quid, and you're spending way less than half.
Well, to be fair, I think that might be the way to go. I mean, that's what lots of people are kind of that's what lots of people do, and they're just sacking off phones and just going with tablets.
Well, Apple bought out the iPad Mini, the newest iPad Mini, which can now have a SIM card in it. So it's just a big iPhone.
Right. Yeah. That's what that is what I'm
Obviously,
saying.
if you call, you have to like. It looks ridiculous, but it can make phone calls. It has 5G or something on it because it's an iPad with a SIM card. Like that's just a big iPhone.
Okay, right. You might as well. Yeah. You might as well just call it the. To be fair, yeah, they can't do that because then branding is. I don't know. Yeah. Yeah. Oh my days.
So
that's what makes me think. I'm like, where I can't think of anything new that they can really come up with. I'm like.
Yeah, but when I didn't think that we'd have folding touch screens.
They're just gonna be like. I just imagine they're just gonna get thinner and thinner until we've just got.
People like big phones though. People expected everything to get smaller and smaller, but phones have just got bigger and bigger because people like big screens.
Yeah, I guess, and also I mean, obviously you know more about this than I do, but like, surely if they're making it thinner, they make it bigger because to fit all. It needs to be in hard. I don't know.
The size of phones is just down to people like big phones because subconsciously people will buy a bigger phone because it makes them look more impressive. It all comes down to how people look and what status they think that. Because if you carry a big phone with a big screen, subconsciously it makes you look like you've got higher status, so people buy it, and that's it. And companies know that. That's just why they're getting bigger and bigger. But the technology inside it is getting smaller and smaller.
Right.
Technology is getting smaller, but phones are getting bigger. But the actual technology of the phone is not getting bigger.
Right.
If you know what I mean.
Okay. Right.
They're just making them bigger because they know that they'll sell more.
Because stonks.
Yeah. Anyway, we've been going for
how long are we going for?
An hour now.
Jeez.
So I think we'll probably end this first live podcast. I don't know if we'll do many more live podcasts. I mean, it's been alright.
See how it goes. I think maybe just do it when we've got a few more subs, just in case people want to come and join.
We've had a few people in chat.
We had a max of 4 there. We got some people in the chat. One of them saying, "Who's the other guy?" Hello, I'm Alistair. I don't. When it comes to technology and stuff, I'm not the most learned, but that's why I'm here. I've come to provide diversity.
I've been teaching Alistair how to edit today.
Yeah, it's been a great day. I mean, it did take me 4 hours to edit an hour-long podcast, but it's fine. We're learning.
Yeah, it takes time. It takes time,
but then that podcast will be coming out Tuesday.
Yeah, probably
Tuesday. Yeah, so make sure you go and watch that. Make sure you watch this. Make sure you watch Daily Tactics.
Yeah, go and watch the interview I've just done with Daily Tactics. It's quite an interesting one. We talk about obviously YouTube, Men of War, that sort of stuff. The next interview going up's with a YouTuber called Squire. I think a lot of people that watch my stuff will know that guy. He does a lot of like sketch stuff, a lot of Monty Python style sketch stuff to do with history.
Oh.
I think he's just hit 500k. He's a nice guy. And I might be in some of his sketch stuff in the future, which will be interesting.
Hey,
it's quite
I'll be
good
interested to
stuff.
see that because
He keeps asking me like, "Come and film one of the sketches."
Love that. I mean, we've seen your acting ability in some of your ads.
Oh god, GCSE drama.
Oh, yes, Journey's End.
We're in GCSE. Anyway, let's end it there. Thank you so much for watching, guys.
Thank you very much.
This will be a VOD afterwards. We might even rip it down from YouTube and edit it into like a small clip thing. I don't know. I probably won't be bothered, but
It's
probably fun. Anyway, we'll see you next time, guys.
See you next time, guys.
So long.